new life. Quiet, peaceful village, church, shop, pub, bus stop, college on the hill, real tennis club opposite, village school hidden in the middle. Years trundle by relentlessly. Neighbours change, but not too often. Vicars come and go with little fanfare. Children grow and leave home. Villagers age. Few move on, some die. Friendships grow deep, new groups form. Stability at home and church. Change is significant but infrequent. Major events, the college fire and the shop closing. COVID arrives and tests the fabric. Social isolation, no gatherings. Church shut and silent. School empty. Work and travel compromised. Key worker the new accolade. Nationally, restoration, easing lockdown, local restrictions, new ways of working at home, less travelling abroad, recession, unemployment, tracking and tracing. Locally, family reunions, community restoring, new vicar, schools opening, business and working restarting in the new normal. Buildings the same, with no visible change to the naked eye.
It's our limit.
We've got to get to Dorian there.
Hello and welcome to this Spark session, which is called River Introduces 360 Video Training and Virtual Tours. I'm here with Alex from River, who are a company based in Southam, but who have a world-leading reputation for being makers of photorealistic virtual reality environments. So here to tell us more, I'll hand straight over to Alex.
Thank you very much, Bronwyn. So I'll share my screen and we'll get straight into it. So like Bronwyn said, we're kind of leading the way in virtual reality in the industry, but there is a section of virtual reality that I wanted to discuss and get everyone to get their heads around it, and it's 360 video. So what is 360 video? So 360 video, unlike 2D video, it captures everything around you. So it's not a case of that one lens will film in that square and that's all you see. It has the ability with an omnidirectional camera that you can see on the right here to capture everything in its surroundings. So it is a globe. It is basically nothing can be hidden because it's in sight of these lenses. So there's a huge misconception with 360 video and the hardware that is used. And I was desperate to put this in my slide. At the bottom there, we have a 360 rotating camera, and I had to put a red cross across it because that is not what the camera does. It's a huge misconception that the camera spins around and captures everything that way. It doesn't. It's more a case of lenses, and within those lenses, it's filming everything. So it's not spinning around and capturing 360 frame by frame. So once you've filmed your content, and I don't want to go heavily into the editing, etc., but once you've filmed your 360 content, you then want to view it. Now, you have full control over the display. So when you have filmed it, you can view it on a tablet or a computer. But what the best hardware to view 360 video is on a VR headset. Now, this is scraping the surface of the timeline of virtual reality headsets. If you look bottom left, that's probably something that is quite familiar with yourselves. That is Google Cardboard. Very primitive, but very simple, but actually had quite a good it had quite a good outlay. It was very popular and it was easily shipped out. But that was a case of putting your phone into the side and then viewing it through two lenses. Bottom right, we then start to evolve these VR headsets, and we have Samsung Gear VR. Same principle of putting a phone in, but this time it clips in and it's red. The videos are read from the phone into the headset. A few hurdles with that. Obviously, you need to have a Samsung phone, and it still wasn't the best, really. So front and center, the largest image, we have the Pico G2 4K. Now, this might sound like a bit of a gadget show style presentation, but I just wanted to show you the evolution of these VR headsets and where we're at currently. So this headset is 4K. It's all built in, so it basically has the processor built in. So what you're basically doing is you're loading the content onto that headset locally and then viewing it. A lot easier than putting a phone in, a lot more durable than cardboard, and a lot more universal because you don't need a specific phone like your Samsung Gear. So moving on, I said earlier there's two sections of virtual reality. Now in the industry they're called 3DoF and 6DoF. So your 3DoF is what I'm going to be discussing, because this is 3 degrees of freedom. This is a passive experience. You are from a static position, but you still get a lot of the immersion and the emotion can still come through from your content. But it's a self-contained headset. You put it on like you saw in the slide before, you put it on, it's strapped, and away you go. But it'll only track your head movement. As you can see from the figure on the left, there's 3 axes. That's your degrees of freedom. If you look to your right, this is 6 degrees of freedom. Now, we do actually have a talk on Spark21 on Thursday, looking at this section of virtual reality. So make sure that you are tuned in to that element with Alex Harvey doing that talk. 6 degrees of freedom is a room scale experience. And what we mean by room scale is it is literally the area that you are in. You can go around and you can walk and you can experience it. So it's a fully immersive experience with the motion tracking. So the headset and all of your technology is picking up your movement. But it's also a more intuitive user experience. There's a lot more that you can do. You can pick items up, you can engage with it, you can jump from experience to experience. So that's your two. And here at River, that's something that we like to get across quite early, is that virtual reality as an umbrella does stem down into 3 degrees of freedom and 6 degrees of freedom. So this, I will be talking about 3 degrees of freedom. Okay. So taking a side step from the hardware and the industry that is virtual reality, I just wanted to jump into training and education quickly. Now, I'm no expert in training and education. I don't have experience in teaching, but I do have experience in training, and specifically in virtual reality. It's a huge part of my role at the moment. So when we deliver our virtual reality, I take the training because it is a new medium. Even though it's been around for years, it is still quite fresh. People might not still understand what it is. So within virtual reality, I'm looking at training and education. Now, have a look at the two images on my screen. Now, the one on the right, modern day classroom, the one on the left, not so modern. Obviously, the difference is the time that they were taken. They could be some 70, 80 years apart. But there's something glaringly obvious about the structure, the environment. And it is that it's still the same. We still have our classrooms where we sit, we take notes, we listen to the teacher at the front, and we watch what's on the board. And then we will cross-reference that, or we will put it into our own words on our notes. We might have textbooks and exercise books, but it's still the same structure. Now, it obviously works because we wouldn't have done it for 200 odd years, but there are a few challenges to this. So what are these challenges? Now, I'm a bit longer in the tooth now, so I'm not one of these new age gamers, but these are some of the hurdles that I think teachers and facilitators might have when teaching the new breed that is coming through. So new technology is expected in teaching, training, education, etc. So the people that want to be taught are looking for this new technology, and they're expecting it to be on their table. Now, as I said about gaming, this is a huge hobby and it's actually a profession now. So these gamers are aware of the technology, they're aware of computers, they're aware of virtual reality. And this is a bit of a challenge because anyone that wants to teach now, the generations coming up, a lot of them would have been gamers or at least had a go at it. Now, without going into the scientific element of it and the research, but we understand that attention spans now are shorter. Of course they are. They're going to be, especially when everyone has a smartphone now. The percentage of young people that have a smartphone is probably 99%. I'm guessing, but we can all assume that it will be. So their attention span's a lot shorter. So when they go into a training environment or they're in education, is that a challenge? I think it is a challenge because you've got to grab them. I think there was something interesting saying a video on social media, if it hasn't been viewed and enjoyed in the first 30 seconds, they're going on to the next video. Now, ironically, I've put death by PowerPoint here, which, yes, I am obviously doing a talk and I am showing you some slides, but this is still a method and a vehicle of delivery for training and education that has been used since the OHP days, and it's still being used now. And it is still the same process of sit there and look at the screen and take notes if you want. Now, I mentioned that a lot of young people have smartphones. The access to info is incredible. They can research anything, they can look up anything, and it obviously has a negative element to it. But as a positive, they're able to gain information, gain knowledge very, very quickly. And so as a challenge in training and education, if the person that you're training knows that they can look at what you're talking about in more detail in their own time, or under the desk or whatever, then I think that might be a challenge. So if we have these vehicles of deliveries of PowerPoints and the classroom, what new methods are there? Now, I started this slideshow with 360 video. So maybe 360 video is a new method for training and education. So let's just have a look at a few elements of 360 video and how it impacts the user. So you're 75% more likely to increase your knowledge retention through virtual reality than you are PowerPoint, which is a huge amount of knowledge retention. There's more focus because, like I showed you before, that headset is on your head. It's an insular experience. So you are concentrating. And with that focus and that concentration, you're going to get more emotion because you are completely immersed in it. And if it's contextual, by contextual, I mean relevant or your world, then your knowledge retention is going to be increased. Now, it's also accelerating the learning because we can go through several points of the module, etc., quicker, but still efficiently. So it does have that element of accelerated learning. If you look onto the right-hand side, it's 4 times faster than the classroom experience, being able to put someone in virtual reality. At scale, it's highly cost effective. When you look at some of the numbers of people that we can get in virtual reality, with that scale, you're going to save money. And it's repeatable. So having that headset on with that content, as soon as that headset's taken off and maybe someone else has viewed it, that is one repeat that hasn't changed. So it's definitely a repeatable message or a repeatable module, curriculum, etc. Now, I'm harping on about virtual reality, 360 video in training and education. Here at River, we are not advocates of virtual reality replacing traditional methods. That's not what we're about. In fact, we're big advocates of 2D video, for example, or being hands-on. It still plays a key role in training and education. But can virtual reality supplement these traditional methods? And personally, I think it can. As a vehicle of delivery, virtual reality does sit somewhere, or does sit as one of those vehicles of delivering your training, your modules, your curriculum, etc. And then a huge factor is that it is fun. It's not a case of it's always going to be gamified and it's going to be an entertainment element to the VR, but it still does have that fun factor. And from our experience training hundreds of people in VR, as soon as they see that virtual reality headset, they're enlightened and they think, oh, what's this? This is new. This is exciting. And then obviously, depending on how contextual your content is, they're going to be concentrating, they're going to be focused, and they will accelerate their learning. And also a really key point in all of this is that it is modern 21st century learning. I mentioned about the short attention spans, the high volume of gamers in your classes. This is just where we're at, unfortunately, whether we like it or not. It is a case of we need to catch up and be relevant. Okay, so if we have these 360 videos that we filmed, or we've got River to film them, or whatever content we have, how exactly do we use 360 video in training, in education? And an answer that we have is a product that we've created called RiverLink. So this is the software. These are a few elements of the software. It's local or it's a remote connection. You have VR chalk video annotation. So the facilitator, the trainer, can draw on the content, on the 360 content or whatever content it is, and give a reference, give a point of view, give a talking point. Couple that with your bookmarks, you're now starting to make your lesson in virtual reality. Jumping up to the remote or local connection, we have the ability to use a webcam or two-way communication within the virtual reality. So if it is that the class are dotted around the UK or wherever, you can still be seen as a facilitator and you can still talk. And then with that, it's a full content library. So all of your content is put onto the kit. So the way that it works is that it synchronizes the VR headsets that you see in the box with the laptop, and it's all self-contained. We call it Classroom in a Box. These are some of the elements of the hardware. So you have your laptop, you have your headphones, a key role in immersion. It has built-in wireless Wi-Fi. So for your local sessions, whether it is in a classroom or a training room, it will all connect without the need for being able to go onto a web browser, etc. It's all housed in the box. And it's a ruggedized transport case as well. So it can go in the boot of your car. It can sit in the corner of a classroom. And we offer different sizes. It's not just your 15 kit that you can see in front of you. They can be 5s, 10s. They can be any size, depending on what you need. And it all charges. So those headsets that are in that box can be charged as well. And if you do want some custom branding, we can change it. We can make it yours. And I think that's quite important. It's your classroom in a box. So having it custom branded is quite important. So I've obviously just quickly gone over that infographic that you saw there. So this is Riverlink in a bit more detail. So the hardware, you own the kit. So you've purchased it. It's not a loan. You're not renting. It's purely yours. Do what you want with it. It is affordable, and you will get a return on investment, because some of the training methods that we're trying to do now can be quite costly, whereas Riverlink is quite cost effective. Like I said before, it's a ruggedized transport case, so it's easy transported, and it has a long shelf life. These aren't your Google Cardboards that you saw before, or your Samsung Gear VR headsets. These are Pico headsets that have an extremely long shelf life. So it won't be that gizmo in the corner that you used for a week and then now it's gathering dust. It will have that longevity. And then going into the software, we own the intellectual property, so we can change it. If there's anything that you wanted on the software, then we can easily amend that. Don't worry if you're thinking, I still don't understand how Riverlink works. I'm going to show you in a contextual format in a minute. So the facilitator takes the session. The facilitator, the trainer, the teacher has the laptop and controls what the headsets see and annotates and discusses and talks, etc. And like I said before, the remote capability is ideal in 2021. The situation now is horrendous for us all. Having the ability to immerse your users in virtual reality whilst they're working from home, not only is it something new and exciting, because let's be honest, a lot of us are sick to the back teeth of having these video calls. You're now immersed. You're sat there in your home with a headset on, looking at environments that you'd have to go to see, which obviously can be had. So it has that simultaneous playback and independent viewing. So that headset is your headset, you're viewing it, and it can be played whenever you want. It can be stopped, etc. So a big misconception of anything virtual is that you have to stream it or it has to download. It's not the case with Riverlink. All of the content is housed on the laptop locally and on the headsets locally. So it isn't a case of making sure that your internet's good enough and you're streaming content down. We've seen competitors, and there are competitors out there that are good, but they do use a web browser, which you can come unstuck, especially if it's security that is something that's quite high on your agenda. So you can upload your existing content in any format. So whether you have some photos or you've got CCTV footage or you have 360 video footage, upload it and it can play all of it. Okay, I'm going to quickly jump to a quick insight into Riverlink. So there I am there. I put the headset on my user. This is our session, and in I go. So this now, I've just paused it. This is what you will see with a headset on. So we're synchronized. There's my team in the corner. There's me, top left, as the webcam. There's my prompt if I wanted to talk. So this is our lecture theatre. So this is where we will all start the session. Fantastic for getting ready for your session, seeing who's in it, And also just having that emotive experience, because you can see your trainer, your facilitator. Okay, so when I talk about content, I can annotate. So all I've done there is just put a few symbols on, a few diagrams, but I'm annotating. So everyone in this virtual class can see what I'm talking about, and it gives a point of reference. It's so important for knowledge retention to have that reference, not just looking around wherever. I'm giving you the area that I want you to concentrate, and then we can talk about it. And this is 2D footage. This is obviously on 360 footage as well, or images. It can be on anything. And I'll just fast forward to something contextual. So this is one of our clients at the moment, Leicestershire Fire and Rescue. So this is 360 footage. This is me pushing this around. I can fast forward the footage. I can pause it. I can draw. And as long as it's relative, it's going to have an impact. So this could be, right, what kit have we brought to this area? Me just moving around, this will give you an idea of where we are. So we're looking at residential and commercial fires in an area. So remember at the start of this, I talked about that it was 360 and that it would film everything. This has captured everything. You see your whole team everywhere. Okay, I'll come out of that. And on to my next slide. So I've spoken about Riverlink, the hardware, the software. You've seen some relative footage there. That was Leicestershire Fire and Rescue. But who else is using Riverlink? Transport for London, TfL, huge company. They're using Riverlink and virtual reality to push forward a project called Destination Zero, which Sadiq Khan wants there to be no deaths or injuries on a bus by 2030, which is a huge ask. But how are they looking at doing it? They're looking at doing it with virtual reality. So they can do their bus driver training. They can go through the processes. They can raise awareness. They can look at diversity and inclusion in virtual reality. But also they can touch on the empathy for other road users. And then we created a video for them called Cautionary Tale, which takes you through a bus driver's life and the hurdles that they have, the stresses, etc., and how this can affect your job. So there's a few screenshots. So the top one is from the 360 footage. So you're interviewed by the police because something went wrong. And so you relive that in virtual reality. The bottom, there's a few bus drivers off duty, obviously, that are going through the footage. So I'm going to be quite quick through these guys because I do have a few use cases. We then have Highways England. Now, Highways England are looking at using Riverlink for human resources, for leadership, management techniques, team dynamics, and again, diversity and inclusion. And these two images you see here are screenshots from the 360 footage. So again, they're being able to immerse their users into the world of virtual reality to get the best out of the technology, and also have that accelerated learning, have that knowledge retention, and also that emotive element to it. What's it like to be in the shoes of someone that is being racially abused or has been segregated? You can now do it with virtual reality. And as a vehicle of delivery, we have Riverlink. Getting on to the more serious industries now. Riverlink has been used in the MOD. We have the Royal School of Artillery, the Royal School of Military Engineering, the RAF, the US Air Force. They're using Riverlink because they can put their soldiers in that environment easily. And again, screenshot the top, that's looking at tactics. So you as the user get to see everything that's going on. Now they look at things like after attack review. So they'll do an assault, and then they go back and they dissect it and they go through it. They can be taken into the field. So remember that I said that it's a ruggedized case. They can take this wherever they want. So they can look at their attacks, whether it's urban or rural, and then they can dissect it. It's also competency in the role. Now, this doesn't just apply to It doesn't just apply to the military. It can be competency in your role in any industry, and they can do it with Riverlink. And then you have a few unique niche elements of the training. So looking at vehicle familiarization or weapons or ballistic training. And then we have our local Warwickshire Police that are using Riverlink. So it's very much for public information. So there's a fantastic team with Warwickshire Police with the youth engagement, and they are using our software, our hardware, and our videos to raise awareness, hopefully be able to go back to school soon and show them the severity of knife crime, the severity of dangers of underage drinking, road safety, county lines, drug trafficking. Serious issues that are becoming more and more prevalent in our world today. They're now raising awareness using virtual reality because they immerse them in that world, and that emotive element is more powerful than ever. And you saw a bit of footage from Leicestershire Fire and Rescue. They're using Riverlink. They are steaming ahead with it, and they've purchased several kits because they can look at so many elements. Driver training. They have their own school outreach program. They can look at the more contextual elements to the job, which are burn patterns or smoke patterns. And again, they can do their full training in virtual reality, looking at commercial and residential training. And from that residential training, a huge issue that came up from Grenfell Tower was, what was the training like for high-rise bridgehead deployment, for example? Now they can do it in virtual reality. So they're upping their game in training. Okay, so Riverlink can be, you can load any footage onto it. Now, here at River, we will obviously professionally produce the footage, but what's to stop yourself doing it? There isn't. Now, this is the shooting kit that we provide. So the top right, that is the kit. Nothing special about it. It can all be purchased from online, but we house it all together so that you have your kit and you can go out and film whenever you want, wherever you want. Then load it straight onto your Riverlink kit, and it's contextual. It is content that you have filmed yourself, so it has meaning. We train you, we give you a few days training on the best way to film, and there you have it. You have your content, and then you have your lesson plan. So the shooting kit is a valuable tool if you have a Riverlink kit, because you can film your content yourself. Okay. Thank you very much. I believe that you'll be able to message myself and put something on the app or the website if you do have any questions. Bronwyn, I believe I do have a few minutes. I'm happy to take any messages, any queries now, or what's best for yourself.
Yeah, Alex, so if there is a question in the chat, if you'd like me to read it out. So somebody says, in terms of workplace training, are there any scenarios or situations that work better than others with VR? And can a VR experience be shared with colleagues, i.e. if you're practicing a shared task, how does that work?
Good question. So in terms of workplace training, are there any scenarios, situations that work better than others with VR? Yes, there are, especially when you're looking at conflict resolution, you're looking at diversity and inclusion. Because you are there, you are immersed, it is almost yourself. So you become a being, you become an entity. So being able to view scenarios and situations like that in virtual reality is, I would say, definitely better in virtual reality. But like I said, it can be a supplement. It doesn't always need to replace, and it can be horses for courses. We try virtual reality with this, we try PowerPoint for this, we try written, we try practical. It doesn't matter.
That's great. And I think with a little bit of thought, there are many ways that we can apply this into arts and heritage organisations. So thank you so much for taking us through that. I think that concludes this session. I would just say that if you would like to ask Alex any questions, you can do so by going to the River virtual booth in the Hoover app. From our event homepage, if you scroll down to additional resources, click on exhibitors, and then there's an alphabetical list of all our exhibitors. And if you click into River's virtual booth, you can type any questions and Alex will be able to answer them. So thank you everyone for tuning in. And our next session is at 12:30, diversity in the district. Thank you very much.
Thanks
Alex. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.